It is the NFL trade deadline, and the Kansas City Chiefs actually got involved. Welcome, Jeremy. Welcome, all of you coming in. I just want to do something live and quick uh, as a reaction piece to what happened. We got kind of thrown for a loop. If you saw my short here on YouTube, and make sure that you check that out. I think what you'll understand is that we didn't see this coming, but it does make sense. So I hope that we're going to get what we hope out of it. There's a lot there. It means a couple of things. And right now, there's still more coming. I still do feel like there's an option here. I don't know if they're going to pursue OBJ any farther than they've done in the initial reach out. We'll get to that in a second. But what this means for the team without Rashad Fenton got to the point where he was still a decent player, but the rookie class had caught up to him. They had given him, hey, a run for his money. And coming back, anything that you did with Rashad Fenton, you heard me talking last week about maybe you move him to safety. Maybe you get him some reps there. Maybe you try to protect another position, because what the team doesn't want to do is take reps away from the rookies. The rookie corners have been thrown into the fire, and they've responded for the most part. And so now with the activation with Trent McDuffie, you knew that was coming too. The team doesn't want to stop or slow down the progression of both Jalen Watson and Josh Williams. That makes sense. And so you really didn't have a whole lot you could do. And Jeremy, thanks for saying that. I'm glad that you were waiting on it. I did that instant reaction for the short, and you can check that out. And actually, here's another short for you guys. We've relaunched my craft beer and brewing kind of podcast as well. You can check that out at that link in the chat, and I'll put it down there later. The shorts are becoming something that allow me to do instant reaction. And when I have the chance, I can do something like this. So thanks for jumping in here. I know it's kind of last minute, spur of the moment, but I wanted to give you guys my thoughts. But what it means is that they're going to roll with the rookies. And by not having Fenton around, where you feel you A, have to give him snaps to keep him happy, and B, need to get something on the money you're paying him, that puts a lot of pressure on trying to get him onto the field. And I don't know that that's what they want to do. I think right now they want to roll with McDuffie, get him back out there. He's actually at a disadvantage next to Watson and Williams right now because he hasn't been on the field. It'll take him a little bit to get up and going. They can't afford not to. But what it's done for Watson and Williams has made them that much more ready for this season. I think this was the plan. You knew that Rashad was probably not going to return next year. Now you get to move that up because of what you've gotten out of these rookies right now. And so there's a lot coming. I think there's more coming. There's certainly the trade thing was something you had to try, right? I know a lot of you are frustrated about the fact they didn't get a pass rusher. I don't blame you a bit. I know they tried. I think it's also key that you didn't see Burns move and you didn't see Allen move to anywhere else either. So that tells me that the cost that they were demanding for them was just a little bit outrageous, that it wasn't realistic for any team to come in there and trade for those defensive ends. Now, when you have a prime position like that, a defensive end, a corner, quarterback, those are all like high dollar, one of the four pillars, right? Quarterback, cornerback, edge, and tackle. Those are the big ones that get paid all the time that you have to have, and people are willing to overpay for. If you can't get it moved, it means the Chiefs gave it a shot and they didn't get it done, but neither did anybody else. And so that does mean that it was probably an attempt in earnest to get it done. So, Mark says, I'm not sure if you're asking me. I've been a Fenton fan because he's been able to do what he needs to do in certain situations. He made turnovers when he was first here. His first 2 seasons, he was pretty opportunistic. In the meantime, he's taken on some big assignments, we'll say. It's a nice way to put it. And he's come up a little short. He's had some pass interference. Like, the calls have been not just that they're bad calls, that he's out of control, that he doesn't seem to be able to pull it back. And I think that discipline is part of why they decided that, hey, he's going to let him go. Now, you do that because you feel comfortable in the secondary, and that's perfectly fine. That's what this trade was about. The Kadarius Toney trade is, again, probably what they felt, even when I was speculating they could still get something done on the edge rusher, was that they had kind of taken that to its fruition last week and understood that they weren't going to get one. So what do? If you can't make the improvement you want on defense, make your strength stronger, make your offense stronger. That's why they went out and got Toney. But Toney doesn't necessarily have to be all of it. I'm really interested to see what he does this year. This week to get on track. What will they allow him to do? If he makes progress, I could see him returning kicks, maybe a package of routes. I don't think it's going to be very vast, but he is another piece that adds to the puzzle. If you feel that you're still a little bit behind the 8 ball, you could go after OBJ. KL had a good suggestion here in a second. I'll come back to that in a second. But OBJ would have to, A, want to take low money. B, he's going to eat up all of your cap, and you're not going to have much else to do. So it is likely that whatever they keep, they're going to roll over into next year. That's attracted to them next year as well. But for right now, if you feel your defense is still suspect, the logical thing to do is to go out in free agency and see what you can do to shore it up. OBJ is the big question mark. And I'm not going to comment whether it's good or it's bad. He comes with his own risk, but I will say this. Whatever you thought of him everywhere else that he's been, in New York, in Cleveland, when he got to LA, he became part of a team. And I didn't see him act out. And I saw him settle down. And if he can do that here, he can fit into this roster as well. And if he does that, then you're not talking about the distraction that he's been some other places. You're not talking about having to feed him. I think, honestly, at his age, it takes a little bit off of him as well so that everybody can contribute. Like we've been talking about since preseason, spread the ball around and you'll be able to withstand whether somebody isn't getting enough reps for their liking and they're a little pouty, or if you just happen to have an injury run, now you're able to really, really spread it out. It's just that you don't know who it's going to be every week, and that's okay. So I do think there's potential for another move still coming because OBJ is just out there on the market. It's about a championship ring for him, I'm pretty sure. And it will be obviously competition as well, but hey, it is what it is. That's part of the life in the NFL these days. But it doesn't necessarily mean it will happen. It means it still can happen. Now, KL had another idea. Sidney Jones was just released. Sidney's had an up and down start. He's the guy who tore, I think it was Achilles, on his pro day. Delayed payment for all of the payoff of the draft process. Had played some good snaps, but the young guys in Seattle and Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen have overtaken him. Very much in another situation similar to Rashad Fenton. Now, I don't know what the Chiefs staff thought of him coming out, particularly Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo. If they liked him, they could go after him right now because he's a street free agent. You can sign him tomorrow if you want to. And so if you feel like you still need to bolster that as an insurance, because Najee Johnson would be the 5th right now, another rookies. It's LJ and rookies. That's all you got. So I think that could be plausible, but I don't think they would have made the trade if that's what they felt. So I think they probably stand pat and not go after Jones. Zach B, could be moving this money for an extension, or does that not apply? It could. You don't really need the money for extension. Usually an extension is going to give you cap space, and you're going to pay down the line. But they could be stockpiling it for something. I think it's a free agent signing if they're going to do something. Jeremy, it gives Veach extra picks for him to move up in the draft. Would have possibly cut Fenton anyway. Yes, exactly. Fenton wasn't going to return next year, and they might have felt like they had to cut him anyway. But a conditional 7th isn't going to give you anything to move up in the draft. It's a throw-in pick. It has nearly no value. So that's hard to see them getting anything for that. Brett, it was a conditional 7th. That is, it can be a conditional 7th. That's the high end. Or it could be nothing. If he doesn't play, they get 0 for it. And all they were able to do is move contract off of their cap, which in this scenario is still something that they want to do. So there is no escalator that I understand. And I've talked to a couple of the beat reporters. They confirmed that as well. Let's see. Any other questions that I can answer? I will try. I think overall, this is a good move to move Fenton off because I think it prepares for the future. And honestly, with the length and the speed that Williams and Watson have, J-Dub squared, I think you're in good shape. I think you're going to draw less penalties. When it comes to playoff time, that's going to be important. Chris, how the heck do you pay Juju, Orlando, Snead, Jones, and Juan Thornhill? That is a very good question. A couple of things can happen there. You can pay someone else besides Orlando if you want. I don't know if the draft class is going to be enough. There could be a guy here or there. I just don't know if it's enough. We'll see. But you could go out and get a second tier, a good solid left tackle for half the money Orlando Brown's looking for. Snead's coming up. Chris Jones will sign an extension that will lower what you're paying him every year. They will park some money at the back end of the contract that he probably won't ever see, and he'll know that. And he'll know that he's going to get teammates enough to win another ring. And I think that's important to Chris Jones. So I'm not too concerned about that. Juan, unless Juan does make All-Pro this year, Juan's going to be affordable. He hasn't done enough to really set it out to the league that he's got to get super paid. So I think they're going to be okay there as well. Juju will be the question for me. But yes, it does become a balancing act. You're absolutely right, Chris. But I think it's one that they can accomplish. Let's see. OG, is there a defensive player out there that we should look at as a free agent? Nobody that really comes to mind for me that I think is a shoe-in to help. Again, for me, it's about, can you upgrade when you spend that money? And I just don't see a lot. Marxism. We need to re-sign Snead in 95. Yeah, absolutely. Probably Juju too. Like how they played so far. Yeah, and I think that's probably all in the plan. Snead for certain, Chris Jones for certain. They're going to want to extend. Gary, welcome back. Daryl, I hope we still pick up defensive help. I wish that they could too. I just don't see a lot out there on the free agent market. There are still some more moves that can be made. Like other teams could release players at this point. Everybody's subject to waiver for now. We'll see what happens. And so that puts the Chiefs in a little bit of a disadvantage as well. Sweaty. Did the spat in training camp soil Fenton's future? I don't think so. I think the spat in training camp when Mahomes was shouting at him, hey, you hold all the time. I think that's indicative of why he's not here. It's because he holds all the time. Because he had not improved his foot quickness. He had not improved his technique so that he didn't get caught out of position, and he ended up having to hold all the time. So that is the problem. But I don't think that's the reason he's gone. That argument, I don't think paid for it. I think that argument shined a light on what the problem was. That would be my argument. Let's see, Cody. Is Veach going to be aggressive in next year's draft? No way he's making all of these picks again. Agreed. I think this was a huge class, and I don't think that they do that here again. You may have to replace, another safety. If they don't re-sign Juan, Cook will move up. It'll be Cook and Reed. Linebackers are set. You replace Chris. I think they need another pass rush defensive tackle. There's a couple of guys that right now that I could see fitting in here that do a lot of what they do. That'll be day two guys. Amara from Texas is one that stands out to me just off the top of my head. Then on the offensive line, you got to get tackles. I think they're going to need to trade up for them if they do find in the class that they like, and you got to get edge. Those two positions. Unfortunately, they're going to be back in the position now. Frank Clark's out. Mike Dan, I think, is a seat warmer. Like he's going to give you enough play to keep you happy, but you're not going to become a force. You got to go out and get edge, and you got to go out and get tackle. This is a trade show maybe how good McDuffie actually is. It's not even McDuffie because I think they know what McDuffie is. It tells you how confident they are in now that Watson has improved his game, and now Williams has gotten in and improved his game. Yes, they had rough starts, but they both have made interceptions. So not a lot of interceptions on this team yet. Two of those rookies have done them. So it all comes together, but I think it's that they have confidence in all the rookies at corner. Who's going to get the snaps of Clark out with Henry coming? Do you see a big putting in Jones at tackle? I think they will continue to move him at tackle. Obviously, Karlaftis will start. And you'll put Frank out at end as well. The question becomes is, can Colin Saunders do enough in the middle? Can Mike Dana do enough in the middle? Who else is going to play inside that allows you to play outside? So I think this is going to be a big test for George Karlaftis. He has an opportunity to play more, and he has an opportunity to play better. That will be where we want to come down. LT is looming next year's draft. Do you see them going edge or wide receiver first round? I don't think they'll go wide receiver first round. Edge and tackle are way more important, especially with what we've seen now. You've backfilled McCole Hardman, so if you lose him, which you probably will, you now have Tony in that role unless he just totally flakes out. You feel like you can get Juju or MVS back for the same money. So you feel like you're good there. Sky's there. You have a trio of starters. You have Watson as a 4. I think you're going to be in good shape. I don't think they're going to make that a priority. It's going to be tackle and edge. Daryl, hit them thumbs up. I appreciate it. If you guys would share us out on social media, I would appreciate that as well. check out the short that I did before. The shorts are blowing up these days on YouTube, and honestly, it makes it pretty simple to just crank them out when something big happens like this. And I wanted to give you a little bit more here. How likely can we expect a dramatic move up in the draft? I don't know about dramatic. In the end, it's still about value. When you're moving up from 28 plus, which is exactly where I expect the Chiefs to be, it still comes down to value. So I could see something very similar to what we saw here with McDuffie this last year. Move up to 21, move up to 15 maybe. But I don't think they're going up to like 8. I don't see that in the cards. So this is what it is. This is where we're at. The trade sets up what comes next. It's a confidence in the young guys, and it gives you a little bit more room to maybe try to sign OBJ or somebody like that. Sidney Jones is out there, but I don't think he's the way that it's going. So we got a lot coming. We'll have more reaction for you. I'm going to bump Gary's video to tomorrow. Make sure you check that out because it's all about the stats and McDuffie and how we run into the second half. You're going to want to see that. And you get the special broke down film room on George Karlaftis tomorrow from Dan. So simple, Ron Hamlet. You didn't save any money at all with Jones. I think that would have saved you $300K was all it was. This saves you $1.5 million, just under 1.49. And that is cap space you can use on something else. Do we load up on D-line next year after the draft like we did DBs? I think so. That could be in the cards. It'll depend on what they're able to get done in free agency too, but there will definitely be an aspect to that. So Armando, they don't use Ronald Jones because he's not any good. It's pretty straightforward. They think all the guys ahead of him are better. He is an emergency guy. If somebody gets hurt, he will get on the roster, he will be active, and he will get touches no matter what. But he clearly just hasn't outperformed any of the 3 guys that they're using now. And that's the only reason. Running back for Andy Reid is you got to put out to stay on the roster, period. They go through attrition. They go through backs every year. They want guys that will put out. That's just the way that it is. A lot of running backs out there. They could probably shift it around if they wanted to. I'm not sure why they're being stubborn about it if he clearly wants out or wants a trade or wants a release. Again, I don't think it costs them that much, but it doesn't save them that much. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they have another plan. I don't know. But that's where we are tonight. I hope you guys are digging it. At least the Chiefs did something at trade deadline, right? So I think it proves that they're trying to be active. They're trying to improve their roster. So get ready for tomorrow. We got content coming for you. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night, and I'll talk